So when it comes to Bungo Stray Dogs, two of my favorite characters have always been Dazai and Otasaku, but with the current release of chapter 114.5, it looks like yet another one of my favorite characters are going to be biting the dust. Before we get into this though, one, there will be a lot of spoilers in this video, so if you don't want to be spoiled, just head on out now. And two, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that like, that subscribe, hit that notification bells for more. Now, before I get into Dazai's character and why it makes sense for him to be the one that's going out, I want to explain just what happened in chapter 114 and 114.5. So, as we know, Dazai and Chuya, well, Dazai specifically, was able to take out Fyoridor via Braum and a vampire, except in 114.5, it was revealed that Fyoridor didn't actually die and that his ability, crime, and punishment allows him to become the person that killed him if they had the killing intent. Now, that's a bit odd because he didn't become the vampire that killed him. Instead, he became Braum, and I guess the reasoning is because the vampire itself didn't have the intent. It was Braum that had the intent to kill him. But I will say his ability is still kind of odd because in that same chapter 114.5, a guard ended up killing Fyoridor on orders of somebody else, but the guard does have the killing intent, so it's weird why Fyoridor became the guard and not the person who gave the orders to the guard. We still don't know if he can pick and choose who he becomes based on killing intent, or if it's just the person who has the killing intent. I'm assuming the vampire didn't have the killing intent because of the fact that Braum is the one that controls them. I don't know. We're still trying to get the whole thing figured out. I feel like we only have a part of this ability actually understood. But this does get me into why I believe Dazai will be the one to die in this next coming chapter or within the next few chapters. Now, when we look at Dazai's character, we have to remember that aside from the fact that it's been foreshadowed he's going to die via suicide, Dazai's character has always been about righting his wrongs. He was in Port Mafia for a very long time, did a whole lot of bad stuff, ends up meeting Otasaku, and Otasaku encourages him that while all sides may look bad, at least fight for the side that maybe is bad, but fighting for good. This is how he starts working with Ongo in the Special Division for Unusual Powers, and then he eventually gets added on to the Armed Detective Agency. But even though his slate has been cleaned, or I guess you could say wiped, he still hasn't been able to actually right his wrongs yet. So I believe that what Asagiri is setting up is for Dazai to be the one to take down Fyoridor, because when Fyoridor turned into Braum, there was a moment delay where Braum was able to tell the little girl, I forgot her name, so my apologies, I'll put it on the screen. He was able to tell her to move out of the way, kind of letting us know that if Dazai was to be the one to actually kill Fyoridor, he would be able to do something afterwards, which would be to do what he did in the opening of season 1. Fall off the building. I know it sounds like a crazy way for Dazai to go out, and maybe something like a crazy way for a character to go out in general, but y'all have to remember that this is a seinen series, not a shonen series. Things are a bit darker, and this is a very meaningful death for Dazai. I know Asagiri does a lot of death baiting, and to be honest, you can't even throw the air quotes up because he actually does. But the deaths that Asagiri has had in Bungo Stray Dogs were very meaningful deaths. When we look at Otasaku, he was somebody who was a hitman, and then in the Port Mafia, eventually he wants to become a writer, and he stops killing people until he's actually pushed to kill somebody because of the things that happen to the kids. Same thing with Dazai, someone that clearly in the Port Mafia during the Dark Era was an extremely depressed character. And then in the ADA, he might have still had that same depression, but it wasn't as dark. He had a lot more happy moments. He was smiling a lot. But I think Dazai is still extremely depressed about whatever's happened in his past. It could possibly be that after he joined the ADA, he started realizing how bad of a person that he was, or maybe not how bad of a person he was, but how many bad things that he actually did. And I believe that this would allow Dazai to be able to right his wrongs. Sure, joining the ADA and doing good things, that's been able to maybe to others be like, hey, Dazai, you're doing great stuff now. But maybe to Dazai himself, he feel like he hasn't been able to truly right his wrongs, and that this would be the way. taking out the person who nobody else can take out, because if they do, they're just going to become Fyodor. So at least he would be able to take him out and then take himself out in the process. He wouldn't want an Atsushi to have to commit suicide. He wouldn't want an Akutagawa to have to do this. He wouldn't want a Chuya to have to do this. He would want this himself. And sure, someone could say, but what about No Longer Human? Why does he have to die? Well, like I said, it makes sense for him to die. Plus, I do also believe that No Longer Human wouldn't work because of the fact that Fyodor dies when his ability activates. I don't know if Dazai's ability would work on the dead. I also don't know if Dazai's ability would work on himself because of the fact that Fyodor takes over your body. I don't know if No Longer Human... Well, no, Dazai actually says No Longer Human works when he touches something. So I don't know if the insides of him count or if it's only the outsides. If it's only the outsides, he couldn't use No Longer Human on himself. And if it was the insides, then I guess sure, but I think this is much better. I think Dazai's character has always been about righting his wrongs, and I believe that this would be the best way for him to go out. I don't think we need Dazai for the rest of the story. I'm just sad that this death has to happen in this arc. This really, really bad arc. It's arguably the worst arc of Bungo Stray Dogs. We just had a fan favorite, or at least becoming a fan favorite, and Braum go out in the worst way possible. We had a fan favorite in Fyodor, now becoming the most hated in Bungo Stray Dogs, having his ability revealed, and it being literally the worst possible scenario, like Dazai said. This whole arc is just, oh man, I hate that Dazai's death is going to have to make this, it's going to make everybody love this arc, because we know that this arc is just, it's not good. But y'all go ahead and let me know down below, how have y'all felt about the vampire arc? How do y'all feel about Dazai being the one who possibly is going to die? Do you believe that's going to be somebody else? Do you believe that they'll be able to kill Fyodor in another way to where nobody has to die? Go ahead and let me know y'all beliefs down below. And as always, if you haven't already, hit that like, hit that subscribe, and hit that notification bells for more Bungo Stray Dogs content and more anime manga content in general. But that's it for now though, y'all. I'm out. Have a great day, everybody. Peace.